I'm Mindy Peterson, and this is Enhanced Life with Music, where we explore the ways music can make our lives better and spotlight the resources you can use to enhance your life with music. Have you ever wondered, how are songs written? What's the process? How important are song lyrics? Does anyone listen to the lyrics? Could I write a song? What would it take for me to write a song? What makes a song a hit anyway? Today's guest recently wrote a book that addresses all of these questions and in an engaging, humorous way that really caught my attention and was super fun to read. Mike Errico is the author of the book Music, Lyrics, and Life, a field guide for the advancing songwriter. Mike is a New York City-based recording artist and educator. He's toured internationally performing. He's composed extensively for film and TV and teaches songwriting at universities including Yale, Wesleyan, and NYU's Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music. His work has been featured in publications including the New York Times, CNN, and the Wall Street Journal. Welcome to Enhanced Life with Music, Mike.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm so looking forward to giving my audience a behind-the-scenes look at the songwriting process and just understanding the how and why of how the brain responds to certain elements in a song. In my day job, as you and I discussed offline, I work with a lot of college music faculty who I know will be really interested in learning about your book if they're not already familiar with it.
My people.
Yeah. And also in my audience are other music lovers, whether professional or not, who may have an interest in writing music.
Also my people.
Yeah. And even those of us who may not have a particular interest in writing a song ourselves would be really interested to know more about the songwriting process. I always feel the more we know, the more we appreciate when we're listening to music. So really excited about this conversation. Starting out, you have an entire chapter on what the brain likes. And I love how you introduce this chapter. I'm just going to read from your book here. You say, our audience is the human brain. Apologies to those who feel I'm giving the heart the short end of the stick here. But what can I tell you? Hearts can be transplanted. You know who figured out how to do that? Brains. I'm not a neurologist, but as a songwriter, I've done some tinkering and a little market research. And here's what I've noticed. So tell us, Mike, what have you noticed? What is it about songs that the brain responds to? What elements does the brain respond to?
A lot of things that I think the brain responds to goes way back. I feel like I've been going back into sort of like an anthropological sort of study to find out that that we as a species are not very extraordinary physically. And I think we were for a long time hunted and scared and very, very anxious, right? We figured out about 70,000 years ago that we do well in groups and we communicate well in groups. And that feeling is communicated so well through art and through songwriting specifically. So as anxious and weird as we actually are, when we see things or hear things that we know to be right, or at least recognizable, we love that. And we literally get this shot of dopamine as a result of being right. So like the first thing that we actually enjoy is being right. We simulate that sense of rightness by repeating information in choruses, in verses, in titles, and in song form, you know?
So you're talking here about both melody and lyrics both?
Yes, the form itself, some of the tightest forms that we have were developed in the Tin Pan Alley era. And the idea is like having these refrains that repeat gives us a sense of community and gives us a sense of being able to not only join in with the singer, but join in with the other listeners. And I don't know if you managed to get to a Taylor Swift show over this past, 2024, or Chappell Roan, or Olivia Rodrigo, or any of the big people, including people we don't even hear about, niche artists and such, the sing-along aspect of what they do
Mm.
is something that satisfies us in a way that is extra musical, right? It actually goes, I think, to who we really are. It almost makes us feel safe in a way. And it's because of our evolution, I think, as people who feel naturally unsafe.
So is that sing-along effect because of the form of the song, or is it because we're all together, we're in training, we're all
Yes.
listening and singing and responding together as a group, a tribe, a herd?
Yeah. Literally all those things. And that word tribe is so interesting because it is so ancient. But the concept, and I think that is what writers try to achieve is the sense of tribe. And in fact, I mean, if you look at some of the big writers, they literally name the tribes, right? So like Lady Gaga has her fan base is called the Little Monsters, right? And there are others, deadheads or whatever you want to call them, like people who follow and who are part of this whole thing feel safer as a result of being connected to one another. So the easiest way to connect it to each other is to make it kind of easy to repeat and to understand, right?
Okay.
So I think a lot of the stuff that comes with teaching songwriting is like, well, this stuff is so simple. And they take that as a negative, but it's actually by design, right? The ability to do things simply is also a call to people to congregate, right?
Is it
Um,
a source of sort of like reassurance,
yes,
comfort,
absolutely.
familiarity?
I think so. But then there's
Well,
a flip side, right?
okay.
I'm sorry, the flip side of it, we like to be right in those kinds of ways, but we don't like to be bored. That's the other part of it. So I think also in songs, people like to be challenged at least somewhat. Like
So if we break it down a little bit and for talk first about song form, I know you mentioned song form, and you've probably seen this. There's something online, like a YouTube video that I used to show to my piano students about how all pop music can be
yeah,
distilled down into like the same four chords or whatever that repeat in certain ways.
yeah,
And it's kind of fun to listen to it and how they do that. But talk a little bit, like, let's just set lyrics aside for a minute and talk about song form and sort of the puzzle, what makes things familiar and comfortable and it attracts the brain and the brain responds to because it feels like it's right, and then how we add a little twist to that so that the brain doesn't get bored. Talk about
right.
that. And just
Well,
that dopamine connection, because you talk
yeah,
in your book a lot about the dopamine connection.
yes. Well, having that sense of like coming around to the second chorus, say, and being able to sing it along with us. And I won't sing anything because I'm sure there's a copyright problem with that. But once we are able to join in, we feel that we are part of something larger than ourselves, right? And that to us feels good. It,
Okay.
even if what they're saying is atrocious, it's just a completely like, desolate kind of chorus and like very depressing lyrics or whatever. If we're all doing it together, we all are having a good cry, you know?
Well, you even think about Rockabye Baby in the treetop. I mean, the lyrics
Sure.
to that, it's a little macabre. It's kind of like,
Right.
we're singing this to little babies.
Right. Right. The baby falls, but it's a cliffhanger, right? It falls cradle and all, it falls and it never hits the ground, of course. That would be a horrific last verse, right? But we leave it sort of there. It's like, good night. Um, but yes, what I'm saying is like with that idea of connection and of being right, there's also the concern for the writer of boring folks. So that's where we get things like theme and variation, right?
Mm.
So the variation on the themes is what keeps us going,
Okay.
keeps us interested, and it keeps an arc happening because we like the familiarity, but we don't like to know everything that's happening,
Well,
right?
I
When
even
things
think about song bridges. It's kind of
right,
taking like, ooh, where is this going? It's a little bit different. And then it leads
Exactly.
us back to the chorus again. Familiar territory. Ooh, yeah, recognize this.
Definitely, because if we just go from like, verse to the chorus to the verse to the chorus to the verse to the chorus, it's kind of like, oh my God, give us something. And
Yeah.
really, that's when I talk to my students, I'm like, that's where a song breaks right there. The back half of the chorus or the back half of the song. Those
Hmm.
those are two danger spots. And I like how, by the way, I like how you just dropped that you teach piano. That's very interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I taught for 30 years before I transitioned into my current day job, where I mentioned I work with music faculty for the local Steinway dealer here in Minneapolis.
So cool. Like I was telling you, my dad has a Steinway D in his house.
Yeah, so this was so fascinating. This was
Monster.
before we hit record.
Yeah.
So just briefly, okay, I am a huge fan of interdisciplinary training, cross training. You mentioned that your dad is by vocation a doctor,
Yes.
but he's also a musician. He has a Steinway D, which for those who aren't familiar with the models of Steinway, this is a 9-foot concert grand. This thing is huge. And he lives in New York City where space
Yes.
is at a premium. So God bless your mother who allows this at
Right.
the house, because it probably takes up half the house. But I love that your dad's a doctor by vocation. He is such a wonderful pianist that he
Yes.
takes classes at Juilliard and he's performed at Steinway Hall. So, wow, fascinating
Yeah.
guy.
Not only Steinway Hall, Carnegie Hall. I mean, he's
Oh,
done.
seriously?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, he's done that. I mean, we've played together. We've played with, he plays with my sister in jazz clubs. He's doing
Wow.
a lot. And by the way, it's not just large; it is loud.
Yes.
Right? So, like, I don't know how the neighbors are handling it, but everyone seems to be okay with it.
Yeah, that
Um,
soundboard is also close to 9
yeah, it's
feet, and
not.
that's like the piano's speaker, so it's a big
Yeah,
speaker.
and he has perfect pitch, so it's tuned like every day. It's like
Oh
it's,
my.
it's his not every day, but like it's his sports car, basically.
Yes, yes, that's a great way to put it, and I would love to talk to him about his perspective on how being a musician makes him a better doctor.
Well,
But
there's so many connections to math, which
yes,
and to
and
science.
science.
Yeah, which goes all the way back to another thing about like what the brain really likes, which is like multiples of even numbers of twos and fours. Like we have so much of that, and so that becomes like a tell for us as writers, because we can make things fall on the beat, and we will get a sense of rightness that we talked about earlier from that mathematics. Or we can actually throw things into 5 or 7 or surprise in any types of different ways in order to destabilize for an artistic effect, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So
wow. We could spend the entire time just talking about this because, like, I'm thinking about I love to play piano just for fun in the evenings to kind of unwind.
yeah,
And recently, I've been playing a lot of 80s music, but then also ABBA songs. And as I'm playing through these ABBA songs on the piano, I'm realizing they switch meter a lot. Like, I guess I never
yeah,
analyzed it that much when I listened to it being recorded, but as I'm playing through it, I'm like, "Whoa, this is really interesting." So, just to keep things moving here, there's so much in your book that's so fascinating. Again, we could talk the whole time about just what the brain likes, but basically, you talk a lot in the book about dopamine and how the brain generates that neurotransmitter based on
mhm,
what it's listening to with different song forms, with section, with repeats, but also it likes to be, it likes a puzzle to solve. It doesn't want it to be too easy. And so, just how certain
right,
songs can sort of put twists on that familiarity and that the repetition that the brain does like to
yeah,
keep it interested. But just to keep things moving along, let's talk
mhm,
a little bit about song lyrics.
mm,
I personally don't I find myself not really listening to song lyrics a ton, and I noticed this when my kids were young because they got to a certain age where I'd have music playing in the car and I'm just enjoying the melody and the song, and then my kids would start repeating the lyrics, and I was like, "Ooh, is that what they're saying? Shoot, I
sure,
better change the station here because
yeah,
my
yeah,
kids are a little too young to listen to those lyrics and be repeating them." So I do find that I don't necessarily listen to lyrics a whole lot, but if I'm going to intentionally add a song to a playlist that I've curated,
Mhm.
I do really listen to the lyrics because I do recognize the value in what those lyrics are when I am paying attention to them, what they do to my subconscious and how I really do sort of absorb subconsciously those lyrics. And so if the lyrics are not something that I agree with or believe in or want emulated in my life, I'm not going to intentionally add that song to my playlist. So I feel like I have sort of a both and response to song lyrics. You talk in your book about the importance of song lyrics, and some people have said that nobody listens to the lyrics. And you
Right.
have an interesting response to that. What's your response?
I believe the response is like, "What do you think people are tattooing on their bodies? The horn chord?" No, the answer is not that, or like the opening overture on the piano or whatever. It's the lyrics, and the lyrics are there as a tool. You know, you can either use them or let them go. You really can, and it really has to do, I think, with the intention of the song and of the artist. I think that some artists who are finding themselves falling off in popularity, I this is hot take, but I think it's because their lyrics have never really been about something larger than the art that they're creating. And I don't want to name any names or whatever, but I think we search for something larger. And now I'm not a passive I, I know when I'm passively listening, I just like the beat and the blah blah blah, you know.
Okay.
But I mean, look at the charts. How many instrumentals are on the charts, right?
Well, I like how you point
Right.
that out too. I mean, the tattoo thing just made me laugh when I read that and would just
Right.
when you say it again. But then also you say, how many instrumentals do you see in the
None.
top
Yeah.
10? And
So also,
yeah.
what's important to remember, I think, is that lyrics get the best instrument that there is, right? It gets the human voice. And what
Mm.
a shame not to use it to advantage or to have it run, I don't know, nonsense, you know? Some people love that, right? Because it can keep the song in the level of abstraction, right? Lyrics can go two ways. They can stay abstract or they can get hyper specific. If you don't want to get specific for whatever reason, it's a dance song, right? I don't need you like working out pi or something like that, you know, in the
Or people who are working through trauma. Like I've had a guest on the show who works with
mm,
military veterans, and songwriting can be hugely therapeutic for them, but they keep it abstract for a reason. They don't want to relive the graphic details of
yes.
what they've experienced, but they can talk about it in the abstract and
Boy, is that
yeah.
difficult. That's a crazy moment. By the way, wanted to do that and I wrote them, never heard anything back from them. So if they're out there,
Who's them?
the
Which
people,
which group is it?
something soldiers, fallen soldiers, or I forget what it
Oh, okay. Creative Vets is who I
right.
interviewed.
I
I
was
can put
like,
you in touch with them.
I
They're
would love to do
amazing.
it. Anyway, but I can do it in miniature, sort of, because I'm thinking specifically of a student who is just very vague. And her songs were very vague. And then like it through revision, it was like really vague, but it was kind of about her dad. Okay, next revision, it's kind of about her dad not being a great guy. And I was like, excellent. Keep going. She's like, I think this is as far as I want to go. And I'm like, I know. I know that. I would say
Mm,
keep going. Why is your dad not so great? And this whole thing is minor and you're trying to say something lyrically that you would rather leave to the guitar or the minor keys or the or that kind of stuff. But she really needed I'm just thinking about this one specific thing. I was like, she really needs to say it and not just emote it, you know? And by the way,
yeah.
never has to play it, right? Never has to publicize it, never has to put it out there.
Yeah.
But I leave the class open to a world where you are never a songwriter and you turn into a memoirist or you turn into painting or you turn into something else entirely because it's a transferable skill,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Vulnerability and ability to express, it doesn't always come out in song. Not everything rhymes, right? And not everything wants to rhyme because some things need more words and description than a song wants to provide. It's its own kind of form. Like this entire book came out of journaling, and the journaling came. It was not intended. The book was unintended. Teaching was unintended. Yeah,
Really?
well, nothing was
Well,
intended.
yes, I love how you talk about how you just
Totally,
fell. Okay, you've got to tell the story about how you
totally.
fell into songwriting. It was through your dad, right?
It was through my dad. I graduated college with an American Studies degree or something, right? And it was sort of in history because we were like, oh, Mike's going to go to law school. Why? No reason, but sounds good. So that never happened. And I was wandering through the world playing guitar, playing for other people. And my dad, who is this player, heard that there's a pop songwriting class going on in New York. So he signs up for it. And he's thinking that pop songwriting is going to be like 20th century, like, Schoenberg and like maybe early Sondheim or like Golden Age,
Gershwin.
Gershwin, Tin Pan Alley, whatever. And he finds out that it's like pop music. He's like, this is terrible. Like, this is not what I want to be doing. Everything's 3 chords. We have the same name, right? So he said, just go in my place because I don't want to get the money back because he is a teacher, right? So I show up for this pop songwriting class, not knowing what I'm doing there. And the guy's like, you don't look the same. I was like, oh, I showered, I shaved. It's whatever. I clean up nice. And so I just showed up and that was it. That's how I got into songwriting because there was no way. I was like, no one's ever going to want to hear anything I have to say. There's just no way. I just had like a very difficult, self-confidence issue. So
Okay.
it took a long time for me to admit, even though I was playing for others, being behind the scenes kind of fit my vibe a little bit better. And so now, I mean, fast forward, all I'm doing is like telling people the things I wish I had heard.
Well, you sort of fell into teaching
Yes.
too at Yale, nonetheless,
Right.
and NYU, and but that's a whole nother story. One of my favorite ways to enhance my life with music is to play just for fun songs on the piano at the end of the day. My current favorites are ABBA songs and songs from the 80s, like We Are the World. With Sheet Music Direct, I can explore new music, track my favorites, play and download scores anytime from any device. This online treasure trove of digital sheet music is powered by music publisher Hal Leonard and has over 1 million arrangements, ready to view, listen to, and download instantly. Prices start at just 99 cents and include selections for every instrument, genre, and skill level. My family has relied on Sheet Music Direct for years for musical joy and convenience. For an entire musical library at your fingertips, visit sheetmusicdirect.com. If you've listened to this podcast for long, you know that in addition to being passionate about music, I am also passionate about natural health and well-being. So I was intrigued to learn about an all-natural toothpaste developed by a biologic holistic dentist to effectively clean and protect teeth and strengthen enamel without fluoride or the many chemicals that are ubiquitous in the commercial toothpaste that I've always used without a second thought. What really caught my attention was that one of these dentist products was specially formulated for sensitive teeth, which I have thanks to gum recession. I was a little skeptical that an all-natural product would provide adequate sensitivity protection, but after trying it for several months, I am a fan. What clinched the deal was going to my 6-month dental cleaning and having my hygienist rave about the whiteness of my teeth. To learn more about the Living Well Sensitive Tooth Powder and their other products and get 10% off your order, check out the link in the show notes or use coupon code MUSICENHANCES10 at livingwellwithdrmichelle.com. You mentioned journaling, and that was sort of what led to this book. And I loved chapter 5 in your book on the power of the daily
Yeah,
journal. You say in that chapter that the most important book that you assign is full of blank pages. It's a
yeah,
journal.
yeah.
And then you talk a lot about the value of journaling when it comes to writing songs. Talk to us a little bit about that value.
Well, I mean, journaling has been the avenue through which I have found almost everything, including, and maybe most importantly, my artistic voice. And
Mm,
I would even go further and be like, I found my personality by writing it out. Like
wow.
I'm a lot of things. I like to please people. Whatever, party time, whatever. I try to do that kind of thing. But like my real vibe is found, I think, in the journaling. And so I hope for that for my students. I give it to them as a tool. I'm like, look, 12 weeks or whatever it is, hit the gas, do this thing, and then at the end be like, I'm going to do this forever, or Mike is full of it. And like that was a terrible thing. The worst thing that can possibly happen is that you have a 12-week recording, literally, of your time as a 20-year-old in New York, going to college, everything that was like running through your mind. How
Mm,
can that be a bad thing,
right.
So that's the kind of thing that I'm hoping for them. And again, the teaching career popped out of that. A book popped out of that. Several records. I've had record deals, whatever. But like those are lower than like having a perspective and like a point of view. So journaling is a holistic practice and it manifests in songwriting, but it manifests in all kinds of other things. I tell them, if you're sitting there suddenly like coming up with recipes or designs for, I don't know what, a bridge or a house or whatever, like follow those. Those are like little rustlings in the woods. Like
Mm,
chase them. We're gonna do songwriting for 12 weeks here in the class. Fine. Maybe forever, maybe never again. You're on a larger path, and songwriting
yeah.
may be just part of it. So
Mm,
that's what journaling does. And the blank page is it's one, it's just like one of those things that it's like a mirror, but you have to fill it in yourself. Um,
yeah.
and so that's what I hope for them. And at the end of the semester, you know, I get some people who are like, that sucked. And I get some people who are like, I'm never not doing that again. This is the
Mm,
greatest thing ever.
yeah. And like you said, transferable skill because I mean,
Right.
it could be like your own private therapy session that leads to so many different things, whether it's relationally, career, personal life, whatever,
Absolutely.
recipes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, love that chapter. You talk about how writing is a muscle and journaling is going to the gym.
Yes.
And you also talk about how it's the thing that you can control is your output. You can't necessarily control if something becomes a hit or not with
Oh, yeah.
songwriting, but you can control your output. And the people who are writing hits are the people who are writing a lot.
Totally.
Quantity leads to quality. And
Great.
speaking of that, what is the recipe for a good song or a hit song?
Well, there's a good song and there's a hit song, right? And both of them are really subjective, although only one sounds subjective. The good one, obviously, is like the one that you like or the one that you came to this world to express, or this is the anthem of my time, either for the week, for your life, for your generation, et cetera, et cetera. Those things are personally satisfying. Now, the word hit is the one that really messes people up because it sounds like it's the one on the chart, right? The one with the number one next to it. So a lot of people are like, you can't even create a hit song. I mean, if you could create a hit song, we would not have album tracks, right? We would only have hits.
Mm,
We would bounce from hit to hit to hit, which of course makes no sense. But that's all we would write. We wouldn't bother writing other types of things. Some of my songwriting students don't write anything but hits.
mm,
They'll come in with a chorus, and if you didn't like the chorus, I'm not going to bother writing the rest of it. That's it.
yeah.
Like they're efficient that way, and they have publishing deals and they're doing stuff like that, so they're not going to waste their time on a verse. They say to me, no one sings along to the verse. It's
Mm.
the chorus or nothing. Again, I won't sing a chorus, but you know the chorus. sing a Taylor Swift song, and the first thing you're gonna sing is most likely the chorus. The other thing about a hit is that there are things like luck and timing that you can't control, right? That's why I say all you can control is your output. Who went to sleep with who showed up drunk at the awards ceremony,
Yeah.
who shockingly got 5 Grammy or whatever,
Yeah.
this kind of thing creates a hit. Some hits happen twice. Tracy Chapman had a song called Fast Car, which is hit twice. It probably even went higher the second time, 20 something years later. Other songs like Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson was not written for Kelly Clarkson. It was written for Pink, and then it bounced around and it became a hit, but not for Pink. It became a hit for Kelly Clarkson. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
hits are a function of so many things that can drive a writer crazy.
Sure.
So my thing for my students to keep them sane is a hit is something that first of all you think is good, and second of all satisfies your tribe and maybe grows the tribe a bit, right?
Mm. Yeah.
I don't know if in Minneapolis, what do you have there? What is that place? One East or whatever. There's Paisley Park, but there's a
First
really
Ave?
First Ave. There you go. I've played that place a couple times. Um,
Okay.
if you follow First Ave, you show up. I mean, just look at who's showing up at First Ave, right? They're going to be people you don't know, like,
Yep.
and the place is going to be full. That's crazy. They're writing hits. They're not on the charts, but they're making great. They're doing great business, and they're satisfying a group of people never having hit the charts.
Sure.
Ergo, Billboard is not the determining factor for a hit. It's luck, timing, who was the singer, blah 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 blah. Did you find your tribe, and are you addressing them and satisfying them? Right?
Yeah. Love how you define that in terms of what's a good song, what's a hit song, and really focusing on what can you control and what can't you, recognizing that, not
Yeah.
driving yourself insane by chasing something you have no control over, but really controlling your output
Right.
and writing. And you say in the book, not all good songs are hits, not all hit songs are good. And you
True.
say a song can't be either until it's finished. So like just
True.
write.
True. And
Yeah.
I have office hours, of course, and there's a lot of crying in office hours, right?
Mm,
And a lot of the crying has to do with lack of control.
mm,
How do it's a good song. Why is nobody blah, 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 blah? Why is it not a hit?
mm.
Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you know what? You can't control that.
Sure.
You did great work and you finished it.
Yep.
Onward, just onward, onward, onward.
Yeah.
And they keep coming to office hours. So I think it's the type of advice that is actually helpful.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, one more question, since I know we're running out of time here. Where do song ideas come from?
Mm. Well, first of all, I mean, we talked about the journaling, of course, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I was thinking about this one
And I'll
time.
just point out that I love how in that journaling section and throughout the book, you include lots of prompts to get
Yeah, yeah,
people going. And also alternate, like if you don't want to journal or you're just having a hard time getting started on that, you're not used to it, here's an alternative. Pick a specific object and write about it for 10 minutes.
sure.
And
Sure.
talk about that. So I love that you have those
Yeah.
different prompts to kind of get people going. But
Yeah, and
continue.
those are culled from all sorts of books that I've picked up. And the reason I wrote this book is because it was a mash of a bunch of other books plus like my own ideas, and I had nothing to assign, so I had to put it all together. But
Well, and
anyway,
also you've had some incredibly successful students,
yeah,
and they share some really important secrets and tips and
yeah, they
hacks
do.
in your book with you. And you've worked with some you've worked with Katy Perry, Rob Thomas.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
come to your class.
Oh yeah,
So lots of you have a lot of like little mini interviews sprinkled throughout the book that are really fascinating.
yeah.
But
It-
go ahead. Where do song
right.
ideas come
So
from? Journaling?
right. So where do song ideas come from? Yes, journaling, of course. But like I had just finished the David Lynch book, Catching the Big Fish. If you've heard it, it's really about transcendental meditation, but
Okay.
it's about how to access your most creative self. And his thing was really about like meditating, blah, 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 blah. But it was weird because I read this and I was like, you know what? I actually know a fly fisherman who gives tours on the Arkansas River. And he's been doing it for decades. And he looks like the guy who would do that, right? Like the long blonde hair and the big beard and the cap and the whatever, the whole thing. And I interview him in the book and he catches actual big fish. And I asked him, like, how do you catch them? Right.
Uh-huh.
And he basically told me that the success comes from being aware of your surroundings and just getting in the damn boat.
Mm.
He's like, you got to get in the boat. That's where the fish are. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Every day, and magic does happen. You have big fish days and you learn on the days where no fish show up, but you learn nothing unless you're in the boat.
Mm.
I was like,
Yes.
wow, City Slicker gets a lesson. Get in the
Yeah.
boat.
Yes. Love that metaphor. Another thing I love about your book is you include so many references to other great resources,
Yeah.
like Stephen King's On Writing, which I've heard other people just rave about also who are writers, and not necessarily songwriters, but like TV writers and, Pat Pattison, Writing Better Lyrics, Jeff Tweedy, Annie Dillard, How Music Works by David Byrne. So
Mhm.
and then you have that whole appendix, summer reading list for sometime later in life. So
It's funny
go
you should
ahead.
mention that because I just put up on my Substack a revised version of
Ah,
that
okay.
because a student came up to me. They're like, I need to write, I need more books about songwriting and stuff like that. Help me out. So I put a Substack together of those books plus a bunch of other different types of things. So it's funny
Awesome.
you should mention that.
Yeah. Well, I love resources, and each resource is going to resonate with different people. So I'm a big fan of just like making a list of some of
Yeah.
those references or the resources that you reference.
Mhm.
Check them out. And if you see one that like, no, that's probably not what I need, but ooh, that one looks like that's right, like right hitting the nail on the head for what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah.
So I love that you have all those additional resources in the
Yeah.
book. Your book also addresses avoiding lawsuits, collecting royalties, how to split songwriting credit. So
Yeah.
lots of very practical information, and just, as I'm sure listeners can tell, done in a very engaging, humorous way that really keeps your attention and
I,
doesn't get bogged down in the weeds.
I really try to do that. And I think it's from talking to college students all day. You
Yeah.
know, you have to be like a better show.
But, not all college professors pick up on that and learn from that and become more
Yeah.
engaging and easy to listen to.
It happens to actually vibe with the subject matter.
Mm.
Maybe if I were doing, I don't know, vampires through history. You know what? That would be fun too. I don't know.
Archaeology, I
Yeah,
don't know.
hilarious. That would be great. But yeah, so all those things are sort of in there, and I tried to make it funny and tried to make it enjoyable because I try to make the class enjoyable because I do have this thing about when you're laughing, there's something open about your mind, right? And
Yeah,
I think I personally learn better if I'm laughing while I'm doing it because
totally.
I
And I
feel
remember it more too. I think I
right.
retain it.
And I'm also more vulnerable, and being goofy and failing and stuff like that is actually part of it. You know,
Mm.
like a pratfall or a pie in the face kind of thing is really just part of the process if you're all in that sort of mind space. So
Sure.
if people are laughing, I think they're learning.
Mm.
And if you tell a joke, right? If you tell half of the joke, they're in for the second half. They're not going to go anywhere, you know? So that keeps attention.
Yes. Well, listeners, if you have any interest at all in writing a song or learning more about what this process looks like and just understanding it so you have a greater appreciation when you're listening to music, definitely check out Mike's book. Love it. I'll have links in the show notes, of course, to it and to Mike's website. Before we close out with the coda, the musical ending, Mike, is there anything you want to leave listeners with that we didn't get to cover? I mean, like I said, we could have gone in a million directions and spent hours on each one. It's been so fun chatting with you, but
Yeah, yeah.
anything you want to just leave listeners with about the songwriting process or your book before we close?
Um, just that I feel this is my first year being a full-time professor. I got a little cap and a gown and a thing, and I walked down an aisle with a bunch of other folks and such.
At commencement?
at commencement, and it was a beautiful feeling and a really beautiful ceremony. And I love being around people of curiosity that are learning, regardless how they're learning, if they're in a school, if they're not in a school. When I was working on this book, I bumped into just a lot of people who were not able to go to school, right? George Bernard Shaw was unable to go to school.
Hmm.
All he did was pick up a book, and then that book mentioned a couple books. Then he read those, and then they did other books, and then they branched out that way. So like that kind of curiosity really doesn't have a boundary set to it or a financial wall to it.
Yeah.
And it's just available. So being in that sort of area where people are doing that kind of thing is just really exciting, and they're just really cool people who are in that and are involved in that. So people who are taking your piano lessons, right? Like that's a cool thing. I just think that learning things is really cool.
Totally agree. Well, and that curiosity, it doesn't have
Yeah.
to have an end goal either. It doesn't have to be, like you said, writing a song that turns into a hit and that's what you do vocationally for the rest of your life. It
Mhm.
could be something that turns into writing a recipe or
Absolutely.
sort of working through your relationship with your father, like you mentioned.
Uh,
It can turn into so many different things, and
Yeah.
it's transferable skill,
Yeah.
transferable
Yeah.
talent.
And in music, and I think also in this time period that we're in, that kind of movement through ideas and jobs and careers and all this kind of thing is just it's part of our fabric now. You're not
Yeah.
shoeing horses for 40 years like your father and their father before them, and the father before them, whatever. It's about transferring skills into many different media.
Totally.
Um, so a sense of curiosity works for any of them.
Ah,
So,
love it. Well, as you know, Mike, I ask all my guests to close out our
yes,
conversation with a musical ending, a coda, by sharing a song or story about a moment that music enhanced your life. Tell us about the song or story. Actually, there's a clip of a song, I think, that you're going to share with us. Tell us about
sure.
that.
I hope this isn't embarrassing, but I
For
chose one
who?
of my own for me. Uh,
Okay.
I hope it's not embarrassing for me, but I did choose one of my own songs.
Yeah.
Um, and I did it for a reason. The song is my most recent song. It's called "Shine," and I picked it because it's an anthem, I believe, to radical optimism, and I
Mm.
feel like that's something that is, I think, really required in our present
Oh,
situation.
yes. We need
Um,
more of that.
yeah, and I feel like the lyric remains aware of the fraught moment we're living in, but it chooses to inspire listeners past it and into a better place. I don't write a lot of those kind of songs, so when they come up, I'm like super psyched about it. Um,
Mm.
and there's a lot of dark songs. I mean, I listen to, I don't even know how many songs per semester that come in, and the happy and joyful ones really stick out
Hmm.
because they really are outliers.
Hmm.
So when they do show up, I feel like they provide sort of an avenue that is more towards curiosity, productivity, towards optimism, without being cheesy. Without being cheesy,
Yes.
anyone can do that. So hopefully, I
Well, and it,
struck a balance.
yeah. Well, and another good reason for selecting this song of your own is you own all the rights to it, so we can play a little bit of it.
That's true. That is
So
true.
here is a little bit of Shine.
Let me see you shine. Let me see you shine. Let me see you shine. Let me see you shine. Let me see you. Shine.
And that is the outro of Shine. You can listen to the full song on Spotify. The link is in the show notes. I've also included a link to the YouTube video that I mentioned about all popular songs using the same 4 chords. It's by Axis of Awesome and is quite entertaining. As always, you'll find lots of links in the show notes, including a transcript of our conversation and related episodes you may enjoy, including the episode we mentioned with Creative Vets, the nonprofit that works with veterans in songwriting, and an episode on conscious music, how lyrics shape our mental narrative. All Enhanced Life with Music episodes are evergreen, so check out the back catalog for more ways that music can make your life better. You can always connect with me on email, mindy@mpetersonmusic.com, Facebook, Instagram, X, or LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing this show. Until next time, may your life be enhanced with music.